Hey everyone, welcome back to Paper Therapy with Amy. You see that I have here the Woven Textures paper pack. It's brand new. I don't even think it's quite available yet, but I really wanted to use this circle basket weave and I wanted to bring in some other colors to go with my photos. So I found some of this sort of pink, very pale pink background color in Nests of Nature, and I thought that went well with the one flower being sort of pink and one of the shirts on one of my nieces. So I think I'm going to go with those colors. I think that it looks nice with the basket weave as well. And then I will bring in some other colors as I continue on with this layout. So I'm going to use this entire sheet and I'm going to split it kind of 2/3 and 1/3 on each page and make sure that I have the center of that basket weave showing not cut, so on one side or the other. So in this case, it'll be on the left side. And as I was trying to arrange my photos, I was starting to realize that I really needed to arrange my photos differently than I would normally arrange them. They're not going to be to the center of the page because I don't want to cover up that center circle there. So this is going to be a different focal point. Your eye, to me, is drawn to that center and then you look out from the center. So this is a little bit of a different style for me. This part to me is kind of like a puzzle. I'm trying to arrange these pictures in a way that I like. So I'm trying to make the picture here of my niece looking in at the dog. And then I'm going to have these 3 pictures on the other side. The one is the view from the top of the little hike we went on. And the one is my sister-in-law and me and some of the kids. We're squinting really badly in this picture, but it's the only picture I have because it was so sunny that day. We were squinting. So I just am trimming this picture down so it's going to fit in that footprint, and then I can make one sort of mat for all of those pictures together. Once I have these photos laid out the way I like them and trimmed up just the right size, so I just took a little off the bottom of that one so that it would fit in that footprint of that where that mat is going to sit. Then I'm going to start bringing in some paper from the Nests of Nature and see how I want to arrange that. And so a fun way to sort of dupe a frame style layout is to just bring the paper in like you see I'm doing here and then cutting 2 smaller pieces like that and cut them a bit smaller so you have that 1-inch frame going all the way around. And you can't tell that the frame doesn't go underneath the basket weave paper as well. So in this way, you're rather giving the illusion of layers, but you actually do not have as much layers on your background, which is kind of nice for the albums getting so thick. So once I get these cut to the right size, I'm just going to mark this one a little bit so I know where to cut it. I'm counting the inches there and I've got a little pencil. I marked it so I can just tuck it underneath a little bit. Then I'm going to start thinking about how I want to mat my photos. So I'm going to be bringing in some paper to use as a mat. These pictures were taken a couple of years ago when Mabel was just a little pup. We went to Wassa Lake and I've been scrapbooking a few more pictures from this camping trip. It was a really fun camping trip. It was very warm. And it was a little mosquito-y at this place, but this was a hike up behind the campground. It was a loop that you could do, and at the top you had this view of the lake. So it was quite pretty. And the hike itself was not mosquito-y, so that was kind of nice. It was very sunny and you got out of the trees and then there was really no mosquitoes around. So that was really nice because the campground had all these huge ponderosa pines and it was a beautiful campground, but it was pretty bad for mosquitoes. I think all that shade, they just loved being there. And so some of the kids, even though it was very warm weather, would be wearing their hoodies till like lunchtime because then they didn't have to deal with the mosquitoes. And we did use spray, but sometimes if mosquitoes are bad, they will bite you through the spray. So you can see I brought in this gray as a mat and I really like how that looks. And then I wanted to bring in a color that was a little brighter than these soft kind of hues of pinky beige. So I thought, what about green? Because green is really such a good color to go with these pictures. And so I brought in that stripy green paper that you see here from Nests of Nature. Now I'm just going to use small amounts of it. I'm just going to put a little bit to break up this line between the two similar colored papers here. I also chose to put all of the pictures from the left-hand side onto a mat as well, but I wanted this focal picture of the lake from far away to kind of be brought out a little more, so I gave it also a white mat. You can see that the layout has really started to take shape here, and I think this would be a really good layout and I didn't come up with this design. This design is out there. Lots of people have done it with one sheet being split over the two sides and then continuing from underneath with more of a rectangle. That is definitely out there on Pinterest and all over the place. But what's really neat about this layout is that if you had any kind of paper that's really has like a picture on it, or you don't want to cover something up from the paper, this would be a great layout for that, to kind of split your pictures up with, some focal point pictures on one side and sort of supporting photos on the other side. I am doing some inking here. This is charcoal ink. I almost always use charcoal ink. For those of you who don't know, I bought a second charcoal ink pad when Close to My Heart was closing, and that's my stamping ink pad, and this is quote unquote my distressing ink pad because it lays open on my desk a lot, so it may dry out quite a lot. So if you're a person that likes to ink with kind of one generic color, and I like charcoal because it's kind of a dark gray, it goes with pretty much everything, and it just gives you that shadow around the edge, so it looks like the paper is meant to end there, and I really like that look. So for my embellishments, I do have some things cut out here. You can see that I've cut out some of the birds from Nests of Nature, so I'm going to use some of those. They're appropriate for this hike. There was lots of birds twittering in the trees as we walked. I'm using a few dies here as well from Golden Greenery. These little heart-shaped kind of leaves are one of the dies, and I cut them out in peach from Close to My Heart, I believe, because that's still in my stash. And then I'm just using some gray to kind of dirty them up a little bit and give them some texture. I also cut these pine sprigs out of that striped paper from the Nests of Nature. And I'm going to ink those up a little bit with some green just so you don't see the stripes quite as clearly. But I didn't really have a green that I loved the match on with me at this retreat. So I decided to just go and use that paper. I also like to cut these. I find these are really big, and I like to make smaller clusters, but also I like in my clusters there to be little bits here and there rather than one huge sprig. So I'm just trimming these apart as best I can and finding places where they trim easily, and sometimes I have to cut a little leaf to make it match, but it worked out okay. On the pine bows, I use Close to My Heart's pine color, and then I'm just going to use one of the Jelly Roll pens to color. One of the branches went off the edge, and I wanted there to be a white edge all the way around, so I just went over that spot with a white gel pen, and you can't even see where it was. So now I'm going to start to arrange my embellishment clusters. I know I want one here to kind of bring your eye from that center point to my focal photo. So I'm hoping that your eye is drawn to the middle, and then you look at that focal photo, and then you're going to come down to the title and across to the right-hand side. That's kind of the goal here. So I'm just going to arrange these little guys. I see that I think this white is too big, and I don't want some of the bigger sprigs on here. So I'm just going to trim them off and make it look a little finer, going around the edges here. As most of you know, I don't usually purchase the dies that cut out of the paper unless I know I'm going to use them for other things as well. Because once the paper is gone, then I just think, well, why would I want that die anymore? Unless I really like it for other reasons. I really liked these little birds because they really fit with the colors of my layout. So I don't know what kind of birds look like this, but they fit in my layout perfectly. Here you can also see that it was a good call cutting apart that big heart-shaped foliage sprig that I had. It just looks better with little bits here and there. With the birds being kind of the biggest thing in the cluster, I just wanted smaller items to tuck underneath them. Now I'm creating a second cluster of these birds on the right-hand side with the sprigs sticking out from underneath them. And you'll notice that the birds are facing into the layout towards each other. I don't always follow that rule, but if I can, I will. You can see there's kind of a gap here where I'm working on the bottom of the left page, and that is going to be the perfect place to add a title. So I'm going to bring in some dies. So once I decided how much I was going to tuck under the pictures on the left-hand side, I realized I had a few more sprigs to work with, and so I rearranged the right-hand side a little bit as well. So in that open space, I'm going to be bringing in the Alamode letter dies, and I'm going to be using the word Explorers as my title. Now, these were recently a free item on Celebration, so I hope a lot of you got them. But if you did not, I think they're going to come back into stock and you'll still be able to buy them once they get some more. I did actually start out with the title walk, but I changed my mind later on. I also wanted to bring in the new stamp set that I have. It is called, I believe the stamp set is called Textured Notes, and I'm going to bring it in right away and stamp some little little miniature basket weaves with it. And I use it up in the right-hand corner for a little phrase, and I use it also underneath the title. I put a couple of them just to give the title some presence on the page. So you're going to see that done right away. I didn't film all of me doing all of those things, but I'm going to show you the finished product right away. I also found this strip that was on one of my 49 and Market paper packs, and it was just the right colors, so I decided to bring it in as well. And again, for more presence on the page, because the word Explorers wasn't showing up on the plain background or on the basket weave background, I wanted something a little more plain. So that is also a paper from that Woven Textures paper pack. And I believe there's 3 sheets of each of these papers. So this one is just kind of the most tame one in there. And it's a very, like, just a linen looking piece of paper. I also added a couple of word phrases. One of them is Sweet Times and the other one is Dream Chaser. I may find a little place on this page to put the name of the hike, but other than that, I don't really think that it needs much explanation. I have quite a few layouts for this camping trip, so I'll have more explanation on some of the other layouts. I thought the little Dream Chaser phrase underneath the dandelion, like make a wish, blow your dandelion, was appropriate. I don't know, I just thought that was kind of cute. And then on the other side, I had the Sweet Times, which is just above my little niece with my little puppy, which was pretty sweet. As a last finishing touch, I added in some gold little glitter gems. I think they're gold foil, and they have a little bit of a pink and sometimes even a blue iridescence to them. And so I will list the name of those down below. The lighting was a little bit different here at the retreat I was at, and so I was saying that that paper was gray that I used as a matting for my photos. That paper was actually mist from close to my heart, so it is like a pale gray blue. And you'll see that I also used an extra matte on the picture of the 4 girls standing on the bench because I wanted to kind of draw attention to that picture as a focal picture as well. So I think that I really like how this layout turned out. I'm really excited about it, even though it's very different for me, just with that focal point in the center there. But I just really wanted to show that round paper, that round, it's not round paper, it's square paper, but that round design on the paper. I just thought it was so neat. Let me know what you think of this layout. I wasn't sure if I was gonna love these woven textured papers, simply because they look more like a photograph than they do a drawing. And usually the more realistic papers I struggle with, but I thought I don't struggle with wood grains. I love them. And so this is similar to a wood grain in that it's just a textured background to add to your scrapbooking. So I think that I actually might really like using them, but I was a little unsure at the start. Another way you could do this layout is if you completely flipped both pages upside down, then you would have the basket weave papers to the outsides, and that way you would still have that circle showing, but it would be split up between two sides. So here's that close-up view, and this is a layout I'm the most excited about, probably of all the layouts that I did at this retreat, and I did 10 layouts. So I think that I'm pretty happy with it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you all next time here on YouTube. Bye.